The men of the North came to respect Sigmar's empire, and for a time, the Northmen and the influence of their dark gods would be still. However, the empire's peace would be short as the southern winds brought the heavy scent of death. Sigmar would encounter an enemy that would harbor a grudge against the first emperor all the way into the mortal realms. Nagash, a great necromancer from lands far beyond the borders of Sigmar's empire, would come to reclaim lost treasures. It had been ages since Nagash walked the realm of men before resurrecting to claim the world in his name and ascend to godhood. To do so, he needed to recover devastating artifacts he procured and created during his time as a mortal. The most influential of this was his Crown of Sorcery, a powerful relic that found its way beneath the city of Reichdorf. Count Marcus of the Menegoths was burying his only son when he was engaged by the Nehekaran Lord of Death. It was shortly after this brief introduction that Nagash would bring swift ruin to the Menegoths. Word of their demise would not reach Sigmar. Shortly after this event, Sigmar would encounter a caramel-skinned stranger that demanded the Emperor turn over the Crown of Sorcery and serve the will of Nagash. Of course, Sigmar wasn't about that and rallied his soldiers to declare war against this unknown adversary. Unfortunately for Sigmar, Nagash's plan of conquest was well underway. The capital of the Menegoths was razed to the ground and their people returned to a life of unliving. Undead corsairs plagued trade routes by sea, and his Sword Oath brethren in Ostengard were overrun by the armies of undeath. Everywhere, Nagash was attacking, splitting his forces while marching the bulk of his army toward Reichdorf. As allies fell, they would be raised into undead servitude by hunched necromancers and secretive vampire lords. The people of the Empire abandoned their homes and went to seek safety in Reichdorf. With his allies fractured and his people flocking to where Nagash was coming, the Empire of Man was on the brink of an unholy apocalypse they had never seen before. Families and friends were not given the peaceful reprise of death as they marched and groaned their shattered bodies in step with Nagash's elite guard. The Andals and Jotuns of the Empire held a last stand in Marburg against Nagash's naval forces. Jotunschreik would be devastated for all time, the land damned and forgotten from any trace that mankind settled there. Sigmar would ride back to Reichdorf and learn from his now dead scholar of Nagash's history and weakness, a weakness that Sigmar would look to exploit. Nagash was many things, but above all he yearned recklessly for power. Gaining the Crown of Sorcery would make Nagash whole. As Sigmar readied himself for a final assault against the Nehekaran wizard, he buried the body of Eoforth, his scholarly advisor, and prayed to Mor, patron of death, to give Eoforth a peaceful crossover to the afterlife. Sigmar was visited by the ghosts of his father and allies who fell during his journey to creating this great empire. They carried Eoforth's soul to the afterlife while Bjorn remained and told Sigmar to look at the hope in the hearts of men that he had fueled them with. Sigmar realized that the selfless act of serving his people was his only goal, to carry their salvation and hopes. He lived for the greater good of the Empire, and so he donned the Crown of Sorcery, ridden of selfish desires and as an act of blasphemy to Nagash. The Empire of Man and the Legion of the Dead faced off in Reichdorf. Sigmar led the charge, hammering away at Nagash's elite guard until he finally made his way to the Lord of Undeath. Sigmar was mighty, but Nagash's fell energy and the overwhelming power of the crown brought Sigmar low. Knowing Nagash would do anything to be whole, Sigmar removed the crown and challenged Nagash to take it. The necromancer thrashed forward to grab the artifact, only to be met with a crushing blow from Gal Maraz. The dwarfen warhammer burst with unseen light, brighter than the sun itself as it battled against the nightmarish energy of Nagash, until the necromancer was reduced to wisps of nothing. As the necromancer fell, his armies of undead withered and collapsed. Humanity had survived their near end. Sigmar cursed the retreating vampires, that their kind would always be known as enemies of men. To ensure that forces within and without the Empire would not fall to such corruption again, Sigmar founded the Order of the Silver Hammer, which would later be known for the renowned witch hunters. But Sigmar's journey does not end here. His great feat saw him recognized as a king and then an emperor, yet Sigmar's next journey would seem elevated as a god king.